Demir Murat Seyrek from the European Foundation for Democracy. Murat, welcome to you. Just going through that litany of attacks that have afflicted Turkey this year, you see a pattern emerging, don't you? Some of the attacks, clearly the responsibility of hardline Islamists, Islamic State. Others, it's wrapped up with the Kurdish cause.
Yes, of course. And also in the pattern, we see that generally the IS attacks are more targeting the international ones, like the airport in Istanbul and Reina Club yesterday. Of course, the wedding ceremony in Gaziantep was an exception in that sense. And we see that also in the public opinion, there's a big anger against all these attacks. There were, as you summarized, several attacks in the last 1.5 years, and major attacks. In Turkey now, there's a big anger and expectation also from the government to tackle with this issue. Of course, it's very difficult to prevent these attacks. On the other hand, now the public opinion is certainly expecting more from security forces and the government. And indeed, yesterday too, an attack was indeed expected. There was a security alert in Istanbul and Ankara. Indeed, the trucks and lorries were banned even in certain districts in order to prevent attacks similar to Nice and Berlin. However, it wasn't possible to prevent this attack. We need to see that in last year, in 2016 only, more than 1,300 people were arrested due to their connections with ISIS in Turkey. But there are certainly many more ISIS sympathizers or the militants. So we can expect, of course, similar terrorist attacks. And this is the worrying part. And they are certainly targeting symbols. And we need to see also yesterday's attacks in that sense. It was a symbol. It was not only a nightclub, it was a symbol for Turkey and for the Western world as well.
On that exact point, Murat, I mean, clearly revulsion will be the guiding principle and emotional reaction of many people in Istanbul and the west of the country, in the big cities. But in the Anatolian hinterland, there'll be people who will look at the flesh pots of Istanbul and they won't like what they see.
Well, the thing is not necessarily between the western part of the country and the conservative population, but we need to see one thing very clearly, because we are talking about ISIS, but it's not only about ISIS. So it's also a main discussion in the Western world today whether we need to make a distinction between indeed the non-violent and violent radical organizations. And I think there's already a proof that we need to take both of them very seriously, because in the last few weeks, indeed, there were major campaigns coming from ultra-conservative Islamist groups in Turkey targeting directly the New Year night celebrations. They were claiming that this is against Islam and celebrating this would directly put you out of religion. And as you know, Turkey is predominantly Muslim population, and we don't really celebrate Christmas here. On the other hand, New Year celebrations have always been big, and Turkish people have been using certain elements of the Christmas celebrations as well, such as decorating trees or Santa Claus. And it's quite ironically, indeed, in Santa Claus originally, the St. Nicholas comes from Demre, Antalya, from Turkey. So right. It is a very symbolic thing, and they are targeting those symbols, like Reina Club, which is a symbol for Western Turks, which is a symbol for tourists coming to Istanbul. And also it is the nightclub, it is the New Year night celebration. So it is targeting a certain lifestyle, and that's why indeed many Turks who are in line with, who are strongly believing in the Western values, they are very angry, because they are not only seeing ISIS as responsible, but they're also seeing those groups who have been with a certain ideology targeting their lifestyle, targeting those values they have been believing. That's why they would like to see also an attempt to struggle with these groups as well, not only with ISIS, but also other groups promoting this ideology, because this ideology is very dangerous and this is poisoning, but at the same time, it is helping those groups, violent groups, to justify their violence.
Demir Murat Seyrek is with the European Foundation for Democracy. Murat, thanks very much indeed for your time. Thanks a lot. A government minister has warned that the Islamic State wants to use chemical weapons to launch